What's up everybody, you're watching Tech Dangus, and if you've been following my channel so far, you'll have seen that my videos I've posted have been more kind of niche items, stuff that's a little bit less mainstream, but I really am passionate about all the stuff that I've reviewed so far, and I hope that you've enjoyed those products. For the people who have subscribed and stuck around, thank you so much for your support. But for this video, I wanted to do something a little bit more mainstream, so I got my hands on the new Apple iPhone SE 2. So in this video, we're gonna take this thing to the unboxing table, pull it out of the box, see what's up with it, and I'm gonna give you my initial first impressions on it. And then I'm going to use the phone for a while and see if it's worth the $400 price tag or if it's a big $400 piece of junk. Let's go. Before we get into unboxing it, I want to talk about the specs that Apple has packed into this $400 phone. There's a few phones on the market that you can get at this price point, but the main competitor right now would probably be the Google Pixel 3a. So I'm going to use that to make some comparisons. The most important thing to talk about when reviewing a phone, in my opinion, is the screen, as that's what your eyes are going to be glued to hour after hour, day in and day out. It has a 4.7-inch OLED display with a resolution of 750 by 1334 pixels. That's a pixel density of 326 ppi, which is the measurement that's going to be most important when figuring out how sharp one phone screen will look compared to another. To put this into perspective, the Pixel 3a screen has a pixel density of 441 ppi, and that phone has a bigger display, so with that phone you're getting actual full HD. The iPhone SE 2 display has a 1400:1 contrast ratio, as opposed to the Pixel's 100,000:1. The iPhone, however, delivers 625 nits of brightness, as opposed to the Pixel's 400, and you get Apple's stunning wide color gamut True Tone display that'll automatically adjust colors depending on the lighting that's in your environment. Where the Pixel 3a is going for deep physical contrast with its display, Apple has opted to focus on accurate white balance, as a better white gives a perception of higher contrast, because our eyes are always trying to compare near white to perfect white. The second most important factor is going to be the camera, as most consumers use their phone as their main camera, given that it's on our bodies pretty much all the time. The iPhone has a 12 megapixel wide-angle rear camera, and an aperture of f1.8 with a digital zoom of up to 5 times. It does also have optical stabilization, meaning that the camera sensor is going to physically move around in the phone if it detects any vibration, which will give you less blur in low light situations. It'll record 4K or 1080 video at up to 60 frames per second, but it's worth mentioning that if you like to shoot in 24 frames per second, you have to shoot in 4K. 1080 is only going to give you the choice of 30 or 60p. It'll do slow motion at up to 240 frames per second, and you can also take time-lapse video with stabilization. The front camera has a 7 megapixel sensor and an f2.2 aperture, and can record 1080p video at 30 frames per second. Now if we look at the Pixel 3a, it has pretty much the same camera, 12 megapixel optical stabilization, and an f1.8 aperture, but it can't record 24 frames per second at any resolution, and its 4K only goes up to 30 frames per second, so the iPhone has it beat there. The Pixel can also do slow motion video at up to 240 frames per second, and its front camera is a tad higher resolution at 8 megapixels and an f2 aperture. Moving on to the processor, the Apple is the distinct winner in this price category, and this is the reason you're getting a ridiculous bang for your buck. The A13 Bionic chip that you'll find in Apple's flagship phones has also been stuffed into this one. And considering how overpowered it is for the specs, this phone's probably going to be very, very snappy. The Pixel's Snapdragon 670 won't be able to hang, and I would assume it's not going to feel nearly as quick as the iPhone. Looking at the battery capacity, the iPhone has a 1,821 mAh battery with wireless charging, as opposed to the Pixel's 3,000 mAh battery. Apple says to expect about 8 hours of stream video playback, which in my opinion is not great, but we'll see how that pans out in the real world once I start using it. So with all that being said, let's get this thing out of the box and see what it's all about. All right, so the neat thing about this is it doesn't have like a ceramic. It doesn't have like a cellophane cover that you have to cut into. It's got this cool little pull tab that's going to basically rip the back open for you. Oh yeah. And then that comes out like this, and then I'm not gonna throw stuff around in this video. And there's no tape or anything, just open it up and there you go. There it is. Little pull tab there, and yeah, it comes with the lightning connector ear pods. And you get a lightning to USB cable. I don't know why iPhones aren't using USB-C. The iPads are. It doesn't make any sense. They're still using lightning. I don't know. Don't get me started on that. And of course you have your plug, because you need to be able to plug it in to charge it. All right, let's do a nice little Little pull of the plastic here. You ready? You ready? Make sure that's in focus. Oh yeah. There we go. Nice. So the last iPhone that I owned was actually the iPhone 8. And I don't know if you heard, but this is essentially an iPhone 8. They took the new chip and put it in an iPhone 8 body. Has pretty much the same screen, pretty much the same camera, although there are some significant improvements inside the actual software. So the camera, there's more modes. You have like the portrait mode that's going to blur out the background, and you have the ability to switch right to video when you're taking a photo. I think they call it like quick video or something like that. I don't know, don't fact check me on that. But yeah, overall it's an iPhone 8, and I think, you know, Apple did a really smart move by doing this, because, you know, the average consumer, people who don't want to spend a ton of money on a device but want to have something that's going to be relatively high-end, they're going to love this, because at $400 you really get a lot of bang for your buck. I do like that they kept the home button fingerprint thingy there. A lot of people prefer that. I'm using a Samsung Galaxy S10 right now, so I'm used to like the double tap to turn it on and off and whatnot. From what I've heard, this phone doesn't have that, so that's going to be weird to get used to, but it does have that center button if that's what you're into. And on the back, you get the glass back versus the metal aluminum back that came on the iPhone 8. So it makes it look a little bit more, you know, high-end looking, I guess. Single camera, obviously they're not gonna put the 5 cameras in their base model phone, that would be silly. But the camera that is in there, as I talked about before, is pretty much right on par with the Pixel 3a's camera, and probably, you know, one of the better cameras that you're gonna get in that price range if you compare it to anything else in the $400 range. And then the front selfie camera, you know, it's nothing to write home about, but it'll work. We'll test that out, we'll see how that looks and whatnot. But let's go ahead and power this up. Definitely takes its sweet time, which with that A13 chip in there, it probably should be a little bit faster. There we go, we got the hello screen. Okay, yeah, let's set it up manually. And we'll put our Wi-Fi in there. It's gonna take a minute to activate. Looks like it shipped with like, I don't know, 65–70% battery. That's cool. Okay. Let's set up some Touch ID there. Create my passcode. And we're not going to transfer any apps or data right now. And I'm just going to skip the Apple ID here. I can set that up later. So I'm going to say don't use. And of course the terms and conditions, which you should always read, but you know, I'm not going to read them because who does? You should though, you should read them. It's a good idea to know what you're getting yourself into. If you're signing your life away, you should know what you're signing your life away to. Okay, yeah, keep my phone up to date. iMessage and FaceTime, let's pass that. Siri, we'll set that up later. Man, there's so much stuff to set up when you open this phone up for the first time. Yeah, we'll share some app analytics. Analytics. Yeah, let's do True Tone. I want to see what that looks like. And you know what? Dark mode. Gotta go dark mode. Who wouldn't go dark mode, right? Haptic home button. You know, I'm gonna have to go with number 3. I think that feels better on the haptic. Okay. Sure, I don't know. Get started. Okay, so, you know, first impressions, it definitely, you know, isn't as high of a PPI as other phones, but it doesn't look bad. You know, it definitely looks high definition. We're gonna have to, you know, watch some movies on it or whatever, some YouTube videos. But, you know, the screen, the going back and forth between the menu blocks, it's very, oh, I'm pressing stuff. Yeah, I don't know what I did. It's very snappy, you know, it feels nice and quick. I'm recording this in 24 frames per second, so it's not gonna give you the best representation of how snappy it actually is. But, you know, it does feel really nice. The colors on the screen look great. Definitely really vibrant, you know, with that True Tone display. you know, we're gonna report back after I use it a bit and talk about what it looks like in different lighting situations, but supposedly it's supposed to give you the easiest, you know, experience on the eyes depending on what light you're in, and it adjusts the white balance, which, as I said before, is gonna be a little bit more effective at, you know, determining contrast versus having an actual really deep contrast ratio. We'll see if that claim holds up or not. But yeah, I mean, overall, it feels great. It's really weird holding a smaller phone, especially after using the S10. And before the S10, I had a Note 9. So, you know, I'm used to really big phones. You know, this was the size of is the size of the iPhone 8. So, I mean, I used this phone for a long time, and then I switched over to Android after that. And it's weird having been on those big devices for such a long time. Now it kind of feels just really small. But honestly, this is a really good size. You know, you can hold it in your hand nicely. You can reach everything really well without having to, you know, move around too much. The one-handed use is, you know, definitely, you know, really easy. I don't know why I went into the clock to show that, but you know, whatever. But yeah, it's, you know, it feels constructed well. That's one thing about Apple products is you want something that feels really substantial and well constructed. They're the ones who can do that the best. I love the way my Samsung feels, but you know, when you A/B them and put them next to each other, you can feel a little bit of a quality difference. And you know, at $400, this feels really high quality. And you know, when the iPhone 8 was new, it was like twice that. So you're getting $800 phone quality for half the price. And you're getting $800 phone speed because, like I said, the A13 chip is the same chip you get in the big boys. So that's pretty neat. I really love that Apple does the one switch to mute. I wish that Android phones had that. That's one thing I miss dearly about the iPhone, being able to just bam, mute it. But, you know, not a huge deal. There's ways around that. I don't know what else to say other than it looks pretty good. It feels like an iPhone 8. It's nice, you know, going back and feeling this phone again after such a long time. So yeah, I guess I'll use it for a while, and we'll make another video after a week or so with my thoughts on everyday use and whether or not this phone is worth the $400 price tag. I mean, so far, it does feel like it is. Like I said, I'm gonna have to get my hands on a Pixel 3a so I can do a fair comparison between the two, because that is gonna be the biggest competitor. But overall, it seems good. We'll see. And so with that being said, you know, I wanted to delve myself into the Apple ecosystem again, so I got myself a pair of the AirPods Pro, and I'm gonna make another video where I unbox these and check these out and give you my first impressions on how they sound. These have gotten really great reviews. I don't know if you know this, but by, you know, trade or whatever, I'm an audio engineer. That's what I went to school for, and I do, you know, recording, mixing, mastering, that sort of stuff. And I have an excessive amount of headphones and have heard pretty much everything, but I've never had the chance to use these. So I thought that'd be kind of cool to check these out and see how they sound. So if you enjoyed this video, please throw a like on there, comment, make fun of me in the comments, whatever. It's all good. But if you could subscribe to me and hit that notification bell, you'll get notified when I make that video, and we'll see what we think about those. Thank you for watching. See you later.